Welcome. My name's Christine, and you are listening to the podcast Coming Up for Air. If you're newly bereaved or dealing with multiple losses, you may feel that the overwhelming emotions of sadness and deep sorrow that are all consuming, that it almost feels hopeless. It's important to know that there is a way through. We have to accept that grief is here, and that the way forward to heal your broken heart is to mourn that loss, acknowledging feelings through awareness or noticing, and letting those grief feelings surface and release. And it's painful and difficult. And so in this episode, what I'm going to describe is how grief actually brings transformation to our lives. In my work as a grief specialist, working with individuals and groups, I am a witness time and time again to the transformative power of grief. I bear witness to this deep pain and suffering, but I see individuals come out the other side. And what I get to witness is how much more compassionate, authentic, and spiritually grounded that they've become. To me, it's just deeply inspiring. In fact, one of my current groups inspired me to share this very subject matter with you. So how does this happen? Why some people and not others? And part of the explanation for that is that it's not something that occurs overnight. It's not even done within a few months. This is a process that we have to engage in and work through. As a transpersonal hypnotherapist, I've often seen how when we transform through deep work of introspection, facing fears, that sorrow and despair that comes up, we have to feel that emotion to move it through. But it's also more than the moving of emotion. There's a forced restructuring that occurs of our very being, of our self. And that's why grief is both unraveling and reforming. As I've said, one of my greatest joys is to bear witness to this process. Because one of the questions I get asked is, how is it that you can do this and that you've been doing this for so long? It was remarked to me by a dear friend of how she first came to know me and actually come into the field herself, and she works now as a facilitator. And we've known each other for 20 years. So I've been in this field for over 30 years. Why? How? It is because of the transformation or awakening that I witness that takes place by the griever when they open their heart, when they process their grief, when they mourn, becoming more authentically themselves. And this truly moves me. When we take a deeper dive into how this process affects us to move and work through our grief, I want to share some wonderful researchers and authors. One of them was John Schneider, from his work in 1989, The Transformative Power of Grief. It's actually a foundational text in grief counselling. And he framed grief as a spiritual and psychological catalyst for profound personal growth. And we have other wonderful teachers and authors like Dr. Alan Wolfelt and David Kessler, who also explore this transformative nature of grief and offer us tools to find the way through. And this is so important because grief is not in my mind, a pathology to be cured. It's a necessary process of transformation that forces a restructuring of the self. In Schneider's work, he used the metaphor of a crucible, and a crucible is a vessel used for melting metals at high heat. And he suggested that this intense pain of grief, it acts as a fire that burns away the non-essential parts of our identity. We cannot grow without the heat of loss. The pain isn't a sign that something is wrong, it's the mechanism by which we are remade. And the person who emerges is not the same person who entered the grief. And this is something that all the people that I've worked with and are currently working with, this is something that we share and say all the time. You can't go back. I'm not the same. I've changed. And we continue to change, to evolve, becoming more compassionate, becoming more authentic, and spiritually grounded. And before our transformation can occur, the old self has to fall apart. It seems to be a period of disintegration. And that's just so hard for us as human beings. We try to control everything. We want things to be neatly put in boxes, to stay linear. But of course, nothing's linear. It's chaotic or even spiral. Grief itself evolves as we process. But what does loss do? But it shatters our beliefs and our assumptions about how we perceived the world. Perhaps we thought the world was safe, or thought we were in control, or that life was fair. And a significant loss or bereavement, it shatters all of that. We feel completely out of control. And there's so much fear that comes up. And what so many people defend against their pain or attempt to do is to rush this phase or deny it. Trying to hold it together. That's why we need validation. We need others that we know are also going through this to validate. This is why I find groups so powerful. And people coming together, they don't have to explain themselves to each other. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets it in the room. Because what we have to do is we have to allow all the pieces to fall to rebuild ourselves stronger. It's like you can't build a new house on a foundation that's cracked. The grief cracks the foundation so a new one can be poured. Our society is so obsessed with having, with doing. It's this focus on doing that we're coming from. And grief just strips all of this away. And it forces us into a place of being. And many individuals that I work with speak to this aspect. And it's a pivotal shift to becoming more compassionate and empathic. Personally, I first came across this term of being many years ago. I was studying for my master's degree, and I didn't truly get it. I couldn't understand it in those early years, what it was to shift into beingness as opposed to doing, because I hadn't encountered yet my own turning point for my own transformation, and that would come some years later. When we lose a significant other, a loved one, we lose the role that we played in relation to them, spouse, parent, or a child, you're forced to ask, who am I now? Now, for example, my parents are gone. I'm not that child to my mother or father in the same way. And so that identity, that role that we've had, is no longer there. And it can lead to this deeper sense of self that's not dependent on the external validation or relationships. It pushes us, if you like, to go inside, to connect more to an internal sense of worth, and sometimes connect even to something larger, spirituality, humanity, nature. And one of the most profound transformations that does take place is the expansion of the heart. Here is a wonderful Rumi quote. I know that most of you may have heard this, but the full quote: "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion, and the wound is the place where the light enters you." In Rumi's poetry, the wound, or the cracked heart, it's not a sign of brokenness to be fixed, but rather an opening. It's the necessary rupture of the ego and the defenses we build around ourselves. And when the heart cracks open through grief, loss, or suffering, it ceases to be this closed container and becomes a vessel through which compassion, truth, divine love, the light, can now flow in and out. It's a reminder that our deepest wounds are often the very gateways to our greatest growth. By experiencing deep personal pain, someone in that position develops a unique capacity to now understand the pain of others. Grief so often turns people into healers, advocates, or compassionate listeners. That wound becomes a window through which they can see and feel the suffering of others more clearly. In fact, Schneider's view was that the person who has suffered deeply is the only one who can truly comfort another. Another part of this journey and processing is that transformation is dependent on us engaging in making meaning of the experience. It's not enough to just survive the loss. In grief, we have to ask, what does this loss mean? How has it changed me? How do I, or can I live differently because of this love? And of course, the goal isn't about moving on, forgetting the past. It's about integrating the loss itself into a new narrative of life. The loved one becomes a part of the ongoing story that we have. It's not a chapter that we close. We weave that into the tapestry of our life. We hold that close to us. And that love is deep within the heart. And what we process and allow to clear is all of that heavy emotion, the sadness, the sorrow, the despair, that literally helps to disintegrate that old aspect of us. In my own story, when my life changed irrevocably, I can look back on two significant occasions. And it was that they were about 8 years apart, and I'd had other losses, But when I look at the ones that changed me, or changed who I thought I was, or deepened my authentic self and pushed me to awaken spiritually, one was I'd had a late miscarriage and then immediate marriage breakdown. And then the second event for me was a major car accident, a near-death experience, and the death of this beloved friend and soul sister. And those two events both pushed me into what I would describe as the dark night of the soul. This term, it's borrowed from mystics, but I think it's so descriptive because the process, certainly not linear, and it's not pleasant. It's severely uncomfortable. We go into the darkness, and it's in that darkness that the ego is stripped bare. And it is a time of profound loneliness and confusion, but it's also where the deepest spiritual work happens. I vividly remember feeling as if I was in this pit of despair and that I wasn't going to be able to get out. And we can't bypass this darkness with positive thinking or distraction. It's something that we have to go through. If we take an overview of this process, we can say that first there's the event, the death of a beloved or a significant loss, which causes this shattering of our self, of our heart. And we must gradually acknowledge that this has happened, even when we don't want it to be true. And that takes us some time. There are multiple reasons for that. And some includes how the brain reacts to this and the changes that go along with that. But there comes this disintegration of who we thought we were, our identity, our ideas of the world that begin to crumble, and we have to let go of that old self that cannot exist in this new now. And again, it's a process. It takes us time. It feels as if we've entered the void, that dark night of despair, feeling lost, confused. And this is exactly when we have to sit with the feelings, to face the fears, to process the emotions. But we find ultimately some strength there in our vulnerability. And it so helps us to connect with others at this time, to get the support, to find that compassionate listener who can help us, as we need to share our story over and over and over. And gradually with that, there is this reordering where new meanings and values begin to emerge. And slowly we look to rebuild a life that honors the loss while embracing new possibilities. An integration occurs, and this is the weaving of who we are now. We carry the loss and our love into our life, and we find we can live with more authenticity. In fact, we crave it from others. And I hear this all of the time from the people in my groups and those I work with. They can't listen to the regular meanderings about things that are going on, how's the weather, or what you're getting at the grocery store. We need authenticity. And so often we seek a new tribe, but we choose to live compassionately with empathy and seek to give back or be of service to others. And again, I see this, I witness this, and it's such a beautiful thing. So grief is not a problem to solve. It is the process through which, when engaged and we fully immerse ourselves in, we're transformed. This is sacred work that you're up to. And to understand the power of this suffering journey offers hope to a becoming and ultimately finding deeper purpose in our lives. To know this gives permission to feel the full depth of the pain, and it offers hope that the pain is not meaningless, and that the new normal is not a return to who you were, but an evolution into someone deeper and more capable of love. We know there's no going back. We are forever changed by the loss. And in essence, grief is the price that we pay for having loved deeply. And ultimately, the reward is a life lived with greater depth, compassion, and authenticity. I know that this has happened for me. And that, in essence, that's my journey. Grief can truly awaken us to know who we really are, to connect into the things that make our hearts sing. But of course, first, we have to engage. We have to embrace the pain. We have to feel, to allow the grief to move through our heart, to be shattered in order to reform stronger and more compassionate than before. It gives us a new perspective on being human and being of service in the world. But it's also what fills us with hope to know, keep going, keep finding your way through, keep letting the light in deeper and deeper, to find your own place where the heart will sing once more with the passion of living and giving. So stay with me now, and we will do a short visualization. Please don't listen to this if driving. So no, we're going to enter into a more relaxed place. You might pause this here and settle yourself. So in your chair or lying down, sit with your back upright, feet on the floor, arms resting in your lap or comfortably at your side. And just let's begin with a few deep breaths. Closing your eyes if that feels comfortable, or just have a soft gaze, looking down at the floor. And just breathe, breathing into it. That was a lot of information shared with you today. So breathe that through. Breathing a little more deeply, allowing the body to soften, the shoulders to drop a little. And let tension release with every exhale. And let oxygen flood your body with every inhale. Breathing into it. Can you listen here in this space? Listen to the heart. Your responsibility is to your heart, toward your own being. And you may feel as though your heart has been shattered. Yet can you allow the possibility that this will gently, with grace, be the power that transforms you? Imagine the butterfly in its cocoon. It begins the journey encased. It does not know the world outside of what feels like a little prison. In order to emerge, it has to struggle. It takes a great deal of energy for it to change from a caterpillar, and it will literally dissolve into itself before it can transform. It goes through great change before it breaks free of its chrysalis. But when it emerges, it has become more beautiful. Ultimately, it opens its wings. It will fly, feeling the sun on its wings to explore the world. Breathe into the knowing of that. Yes, the struggle is real. Changing, reforming. Can you accept your grief? That grief is here, and the way forward to heal your broken heart is to mourn, to allow all of those thoughts and feelings to be processed through outward. Acknowledge the feelings through awareness, through noticing. Breathe into it. Allow your heart to open and those grief feelings to surface and release with kindness, with compassion for yourself. You have a choice to keep embracing the pain of grief as it rises up, to let it come through the heart, even though the heart may feel like it's broken. Yet this is how the light comes in and how your own beautiful light emerges. So can you gather all the kindling about your heart, the love shared, beautiful memories, all you have grown through so far, because in your heart there lives the infinite possibilities that can emerge. So breathe, just breathe. Place a hand over your heart and let your scared, frightened child know that the adult within you will find the way through. Breathe that into your being. It may not be in this moment, but you are capable of transforming. Your wings will unfold into the light. In every moment, you can choose to build resilience through the practice of self-compassion and the allowance of grace to move through you. Can you find grace in simple moments, in nature, in a sweet companion animal, in the gentle hug of a friend? This will be the kindling your heart requires to ignite the light within you, the small moments of grace. The little tiny nuggets of joy. You are transforming and becoming, even though you may not have a clear image. Imagine the butterfly. And can you perhaps trust your own inner or higher aspect, the divine aspect, your heart intelligence, to keep guiding you? Listen to that heart intelligence, your intuition, and breathe. For the wound is the place where the light enters you. You are becoming more and more of who you were always meant to be. So breathe, just breathe. Slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. Allow yourself a little time I wish peace to your heart. Thank you so much for listening. Blessings on this journey of yours.